Absolutely, and the very good news, I just went to check on my clients in there, and I had one of the office staff come in to show him who we found. There was a care worker who lives in the building. We didn't know anything about her and her child. I just heard that she's fine. One of the other, I don't know her, but one of my colleagues, she spoke to her 3 o'clock this morning. So we know she's alive and she's safe.
So that's one family for whom Absolutely. At least there is some respite.
Absolutely. But we're still waiting.
How many families do you have in there now?
We have one family with 2 young children. The husband is away. I spoke to the husband earlier on.
Gosh, that must have been some conversation to be able to tell him they were alive.
Well, we heard people, keep saying they saw one of her girls on fire, but they couldn't see the mother and the little one. So we're still just hoping that she would be somewhere in hospital or until he arrives. And
so there's that husband knows that some of his family are safe, but there is still a dreadful question over other members.
Absolutely.
How do you feel? You're a lady who works in this community. You know so many of these people.
I can't even describe. Can't even find a word to explain my feelings towards everybody, not just my clients, because we witness children screaming, banging, and even my daughters told them they witnessed some children jumping through the windows, and we hear like there was a 6 years old a child. She was screaming for help, and then in the end she jumped, and we heard that she died.
Well, there are so many stories, aren't there?
Absolutely.
So many dreadful tales, so many as yet unconfirmed, we must also say. Thank you for your time. I'll let you get back to the people you've been caring for. There you are, you've heard what's going on in the building behind me. Also outside, we're now seeing the posters with the faces of the missing. They're being placed on walls with phone numbers.
Emma, thank you. Extraordinary people. London police now say that there may be more people within the building who remain unaccounted for. The Metropolitan Police have set up an emergency hotline for people who are concerned about the missing following that fire. And the telephone number is 0800 096 1233. Well, joining me live now is Nick Paget-Brown, who's the leader of Kensington and Chelsea Council. You've been here pretty well all night from the early hours. 6 confirmed dead, many unaccounted for, many in hospital. Your initial reaction as the community leader?
Well, Alistair, it is the most enormous tragedy. I've never seen a fire like this. Our hearts go out to people who've lost relatives, who can't account for their relatives, for people who've been injured, and for people who've been rendered homeless. It is the most awful day for Kensington and Chelsea.
The residents say, as you well know, that this was an accident waiting to happen. Did you and your team supervise the refurbishment of this tower block?
Well, all refurbishment schemes and all towers that are renovated or upgraded are done to a very high specification. Care is taken, but I can't answer your question immediately. There will need to be a full inquiry into why this fire started and why it spread so rapidly. The most extraordinary thing was coming here shortly after it started and seeing the flames lashing the whole building. So we will need to go back to that. The advice that local authorities receive, the materials that building companies use, and whether there was any process that could have been more robust than it clearly has been. But I'm not going to speculate on that now. We will want a full and thorough inquiry. My job today is to try and support the people here who've lost their homes, to make sure that there is emergency accommodation, and to thank the North Kensington community for the incredible community spirit which has been on display for the last 12 hours.
But after a lifetime in public service in local government, do you sense that the time is called upon this kind of accommodation?
Well, there seems to be a renaissance of high-rise buildings, and I always...
Does that trouble you?
To some extent it does, and I think when we look at our estate regeneration programmes and our refurbishment programmes, we are more attracted by lower-rise buildings. They don't end in this sort of appalling tragedy that we've seen here today, or there's less chance that they will. That's not to say you won't get a fire, but a fire of this magnitude and of this severity and of this speed does suggest that high-rise buildings are not the way forward.
15 minutes, as we just reported, from the 4th floor to the top. 15 minutes.
Well, it is extraordinary. It reminds me of other fires that have spread quickly, but normally there is some sort of containment built in. So when a fire starts, although it's awful in the place it starts, you get some time to deal with the neighbouring properties. Clearly that didn't happen here, and that's why we will need to have a full investigation involving all the authorities, all the regulators, to find out if something slipped through. We can't afford another tragedy like this anywhere in London. I should just say, if I may, I'd like to thank both the Mayor of London, who's been incredibly supportive this morning, government ministers who've been on the phone, the community here. Everybody has pulled together, but sadly it's too late for some.
I wanted to pick you up on that point of community, but thank you for mentioning Sadiq Khan as well. The most extraordinary thing that struck me, having been here for a few hours, is the clear diversity of this community, and yet within a short order there were trellis tables groaning under the weight of spare clothes, water, food. There are Catholic nuns ministering to Muslim folk.
Yes.
One has to look at desperate times for some hope, and there is hope aplenty here.
Well, it is a wonderful tribute to the people who live in this neighbourhood that they've come out and responded as they have. It's a great shame that they've had to do that, but we are normally incredibly proud of the whole borough, but particularly of the diversity in North Kensington. People do make good neighbours, people do get along well. It's a great place to live normally, and so this is the most awful tragedy for all of us.
And finally, purely logistically, there is a team back at HQ poised and prepared to house the folk who've survived this?
Yes, there's a team working on that at Kensington Town Hall as I speak, and I want to go back and see where they've got to. There are community refuges that people are in at the moment, and they're receiving support such as we can give it. We're talking to neighbouring local authorities, housing associations, the mayor. People are being very helpful, and my priority is to try and make sure that we can settle people into somewhere reasonable as quickly as we possibly can. So that has to be the immediate priority, and then we need to find out why this awful thing has happened.
Thank you for finding time to share those plans and that reaction as well to people watching ITV News. Nick Paget-Brown, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
The leader there of Kensington and Chelsea Council, and the latest now from Chris Shipp. Just to remind you, he is in another flat overlooking the block of flats behind me. Chris.
Yeah, Alistair, just to give you some perspective of where we are at the top of a five-storey building overlooking the block, overlooking Grenfell Tower. And actually we're sort of so close, and you'll know this, Alistair, from where you're standing at the moment. You can feel the smoke at the back of your throat, and actually we're even getting bits of the spray of water that the fire brigade is still dousing onto that building behind us. As you can probably tell, I mean, it is a bit difficult to know what exactly is happening with the fire in there, but the amount of smoke coming out of the building is lessening all the time. There are a couple of fires that we can still see on about the 10th or 11th floor, another one at the very top. But it seems very, very slowly and gradually, certainly in the the hours that I've been here, that the smoke is getting less, the fire is gradually becoming under control. But this whole area, the school here, the tube or railway line just behind me here, the road, it's all closed off at the moment. And as we were explaining, Alistair, you've got these, and you'll see them, I think, where you are as well. These big chunks of the building that have broken off and have just literally littered the rooftops, the gardens, and the pavements in this area.
Chris, thanks very much indeed. And as Chris was just saying, the block itself is still smoking, but if you look on our other camera, you can see that firefighters working from what's called a cherry picker, one of those extended crane-held platforms, still playing water into the building. Every now and then we see bursts of flame come out of the windows, but clearly that is still a very dangerous structure, and yet, as Nick Paget-Brown and our reporters have pointed out, the firefighters are still going about their work, that one up on the cherry picker, trying to contain what is left of this tower. We're going to take a short break right now, but do stay with us for the very latest on the terrible fire here at Grenfell Tower in West London.
Get a smart meter And along with accurate energy bills, you'll be able to see exactly how much energy you're using, in pounds and pence. Contact your energy supplier today about installing your smart meter.
Together, we can go blonder than blonde. The transformative lightning collection, Go Blonder by John Frieda. Go 2 shades lighter, brighter, blonde as ever. Me and John, and go blonder. John Frieda.
Let's go with a Lipton iced tea. First, start with this. Add a side order of that. Call these guys, and of course him. To a place like, no. Nope. Found it. So grab a Lipton iced tea. Deliciously refreshing and low in calories. Let's go.
Glutes tight, no cheating.
Like the mighty oak, the planker is stoic in the face of adversity. It takes a will and core as strong as a tree to maintain their rigid form. But refusing to yield to the plank and an inquisitive canine requires strength of body and mind that only a few possess. Arla Protein. Stay strong, keep fit as of Britain.
Cliff is lying awake worrying about how much time he's got left to sleep. And the more he thinks about it, the less time he has.
Sir, we're down to 5 hours sleep. Since when?
3 seconds ago.
Best case scenario, people.
4 hours, 47 minutes sleep if we stop having conversations like this.
Do it.
Unleash the sheep!
1.
The natural active ingredients in Nitol Herbal can be used to help you sleep. For whatever's keeping you awake, say good Nitol.
Every week's so different. We don't know what we're going to get in the boxes. It's great to be able to use what Tesco can't use to then give out to the wider community.
The home economics class makes food that is served in the cafe.
Just food going to waste. It doesn't really make sense if there's like people who can use it.
The community cafe's been amazing for the kids' confidence.
It's just amazing what happens when Tesco will give us some food.
Food Lost Stories brought to you by Tesco.
You're living on land worth millions.
You have to fight for it.
You're up to something.
What could I be hiding? This is my
handyman.
Gleeson and Keaton are superb.
He's very special.
Funny, uplifting and full of heart.
He's transformed the way I look at life.
Hampstead, in cinemas June 23rd.
We've been thinking about John, about how he's left his wallet in his jacket and his jacket on Jackie. But he's not thinking about how 70 pence is going to get him home. That's because at NatWest, we've already thought about the left my wallet in my jacket scenario. And now John is entering a code we've given him and is withdrawing some cash. After all, nobody should be thinking about how to get cash without a card when there's a bank that's done all the thinking for you. NatWest, we are what we do.
Welcome back to West London. We are live outside the Grenfell Tower following last night's deadly fire in which at least 6 people have been killed. Now, police say there may be people unaccounted for still in the building. The fire service say it is still too soon to say what caused that fire or why it spread so quickly.